A couple weeks ago, I released this video called Forgotten Kansas, where we explored some fascinating places in the northwest part of the state. This video starts up where that one left off in western Rawlins County. We ended our last video up there at Gladstone, little dot on the map. We're going to go down to Celia, then to McDonald, and then over to Bird City. The roads are becoming a little less obvious as we're making our way back to, this is Highway 36, which is obviously a little busier than the roads we've been on here. But right here, there was a post office. Got some traffic here, so we'll let them go by. But right around here, there was a post office called Celia, C-E-L-I-A, and it was a post office from about 1880 to 1888. And kind of bad timing, I guess you could say, because you think, well, it should be here because this road comes through here. But this road wasn't here in the 1880s. And the railroad was built just a little bit north up that way. And then it ended up converging where 36 ended up being built down that way. And you can kind of see there's a water tower down there because our next town is called McDonald. And that's where Celia moved to in 1888. So there was something here. Probably a rural post office, maybe in somebody's house, or maybe there's a general store. And they moved a couple miles down the way to connect with the railroad. And this is McDonald here in Rawlins County. The Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad was built through the county in 1887 and 1888, and McDonald was platted in 1888 along the line. Like I had mentioned previously, the post office was relocated here from Celia to McDonald and opened in July 1888. The town was named for Rice McDonald, a homesteader who donated land for the new town. Most of the buildings were relocated from Celia, including a restaurant and a mercantile store. The first Rawlins County Fair was held here in McDonald in 1918, then was later moved to the county seat of Atwood that we saw in the previous video. School unification consolidated McDonald and Bird City, which we'll see coming up, in 1975, creating Cheyenne High School, which is a combination of Cheyenne County and Rawlins County. According to weather data, McDonald is the snowiest place in Kansas with an average of 37 inches of snow per year. Looking at the population, you can see how it peaked pretty early on there in 1930 at 442, and it's been a pretty steady decline through the years. The current population of 113 is by far the smallest it's ever been. Now we have reached the aforementioned Bird City, and we are now in Cheyenne County. Town was founded and named after Benjamin Bird in 1885, president of the town company and a prominent cattleman. Interestingly enough, Bird actually never lived in the town. So from 1886 to 1889, when Cheyenne County was being officially organized, Bird City was selected as a temporary county seat, and then it was moved over to St. Francis, which we'll see later in the video. In 1888, the arrival of the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad that went through McDonald transformed Bird City into a shipping point for livestock, grain, and supplies, and helped it grow. In the early 1900s, farming gradually replaced the open range ranching as the dominant industry. Wheat became the area's primary crop. Had a little celebrity there in 1922 come through as future aviation pioneer Charles Lindbergh spent time here while barnstorming across the Great Plains before his famous transatlantic flight. Now, I mentioned in 1975 when school consolidation happened with McDonald creating the Shiloh High School District. Town sits at an elevation of 3,468 feet, making it one of the higher communities in Kansas. Interesting to look at the population, as it was up and down there in the early years and then got up to 740 in 1930, actually peaked in 1950 at 784, and then has consistently dropped off ever since. 437 has been the lowest it's been since the early 1900s. A really interesting place to stop off if you're traveling through Bird City is the Thresher Museum, and it's a lot more than just a bunch of historical tractors. There's a school there, and on the other side there's a church, and right here is an old sod house. Came in the visitor center. There's no one here. Love that old photo. I'm guessing that's in Bird City. Man, they got all kinds of cool stuff here. And in this little area, you can drive around and see all kinds of historic buildings, and there's like an old train car there, and they have a little kind of festival every year that is like a antique engine and thresher show. This dates back to the 1950s, so very cool stop in Bird City. As we head out of Bird City, we're going to go up to see if there's anything in Orlando. Actually, I didn't highlight it there, but then we'll drop down to Wheeler and then over to the county seat of St. Francis. We've been following this railroad for a while, kind of off and on today, and we're in now Wheeler, Kansas, and got a spectacular little building here. It's very cool. There's a little bit of a town over that way. We'll go check that out in a minute. But Wheeler started in 1888. That's when the railroad came through, and it had a post office for exactly 100 years till 1988. And the population probably peaked in the early 1900s, but the school held on until the 1960s. And through consolidation, it eventually wasn't needed anymore here. And that's always one of the final things that usually kind of sounds the end of a town like Wheeler. So, but there's some interesting structures still to check out in Wheeler. So there's the old school, it looks like, turned into somebody's house. St. Francis is the county seat of Cheyenne County, located on the Republican River in the central part of the county. I'd mentioned in 1886 that Bird City was made the temporary county seat. So the first settlement in the county was called Wano or Wano, W-A-N-O, and located about a mile northeast here of St. Francis. In 1887, the grade surveys for the railroad came through, and the site was chosen just south of Wano to become the station. And a new town site called St. Francis was platted in late 1887, named for Captain A.L. Emerson's brother. Emerson owned the land where St. Francis now stands. In 1888, the first train arrived. The people of Wano received lots in the new town and free transportation for their buildings to be moved to the new site. Post office name was officially changed to St. Francis in April 1888. In 1889, it was made the permanent county seat. Unfortunately, a year later, half of St. Francis burned down. In 1893, the town suffered from the grasshopper scourge, which caused many settlers to leave the area. In the following decades, St. Francis grew slowly. In 1925, a new courthouse was built. In 1935, St. Francis suffered from the Great Flood on the Republican River, even though the region was in the midst of the Dust Bowl era. The St. Francis Herald reported that flood swept past St. Francis, dumping as much as 24 inches of rain in only minutes. Over a mile and a half wide, the water swept past the city with no warning. When the water subsided 2 days later, over 113 lives had been lost. Really tragic. So population, you can see how it grew steadily through the years and peaked in 1970 at 1725, and then since then has declined steadily down to 1,263. Leaving St. Francis, so to the west is Colorado, but we're going to head north towards Nebraska and see if there's anything interesting up that way. And that is the Arikaree Breaks. How awesome is that? Guess there used to be a river down there, the Arikaree River. And this goes for 36 miles. The Arikaree Breaks. For our final little drive of the day, you might guess where we're heading over there, but we're going to head up into Nebraska and then over into Colorado and around, hard to get to, the Tri-State Point. Well, it was quite a little drive to get back here to the Tri-State Point. Some Tri-State Points are easier to get to than others, and this was not one of the easy ones. But they got something here. Okay, so let's see what we got here. So it looks like there were different points throughout the years. So Edwin Burwell, 1873. I think that's where we're at, which is going to be right there. And it looks like 1869, maybe there was a spot a little bit that way. 1859, the original one, would have been out that way just a little bit. And then a couple other things behind us, which might be where that little path takes us. We'll go down there and check that out. But let's go see this right here. And there's the point. Colorado there, Nebraska, and Kansas. Apparently this is rattlesnake country, so hopefully we don't hear any on this little walk. So there you go. You know, it's amazing how close they could get in the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s. And I mean, obviously they've kind of redone it and said that it's right up there, but pretty good, not too far away. I like how they've documented where they did put it. So pretty interesting. What a wonderful adventure up here in northwest Kansas. I know we didn't go to every dot on the map up in this part of the state, so we'll have to come back and explore some more. But some great small towns, so the county seats were great. A few other, incorporated towns. I really liked Bird City. Herndon had some really interesting places, as well as McDonald. And then lots of ghost towns and interesting stories with those ghost towns. And then a lot of great scenery, and ending here at the Tri-State Point, I've been to a lot of the Tri-State Points, and this one was a little more out of the way than most of them. Hope you enjoyed it. If it's a kind of forgotten or overlooked part of Kansas, it shouldn't be, because this is a really great place to explore. I hope you get a chance to explore northwestern Kansas sometime, and if you do, maybe I will see you down a back road.
Now that you made it to the end of that video, let me tell you about some of the extras on the channel. One of the things you can do is become a member. There are 3 levels of support. There's supporter, producer, and executive producer levels. All 3 have different levels of fun incentives and perks. If you haven't done so, please check out travelwiththewiseguy.com. There are lots of extras on there to explore. One of them is merchandise. We have Travel with the Wise Guy coffee mugs, Death Go Round t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and all sorts of fun things to show your support of this channel. Also on the website is a custom Google map. I've dropped pins in every place I've visited and linked the episode to each location. This seems to be a very popular feature for many of you. Also, sign up for my free newsletter that goes out about once a month. There are all sorts of links and tidbits on this page, old videos, podcasts, and just about everything I can think of I throw on the website. For all that information and more, go to travelwiththewiseguy.com. And now, the reason you're probably here, the outtakes.
There's McDonald, population 113, and we got him a nice death go round. Very bright, the sun out, burning my retina. Pretty solid. Not necessarily a fan of the all white. It does stand out though. So, say just a good solid death go round. 6.8. This one's got the knobs on it. I'm in this like historical area. It's kind of odd in Bird City. Got a bunch of buildings, museums, old church and school and sod house. Got distracted there. Okay. Looks good, solid. A lot of bird poop though. 6.4. I've only shown you about half of the death go rounds that I've seen today. They are in every town. They have multiple. So Northwest Kansas, king of the death go rounds.